Okay, let's try this again. Mr. Gerwin just recorded this whole video and forgot to turn on the microphone. Um, today you should have read The Cutest Face in the World with Mr. Scott. Now, if you didn't read it, let's go ahead. Let's read it all together. And as we're reading it, I want you to grab a pencil, grab a pen, grab some sort of a highlighting device, and let's take a look at the question that we're going to be answering today. So I have a document here. Whoops, you didn't see that. And it says, how did the Ling family choose their pet? You know what? We're in the document right now. We could easily write a topic sentence just to flip this question around. Let's go ahead and do that since you saw mine. I'm going to write the Ling. So I wrote the Ling family did many things to choose a pet. And then, of course, we're going to provide those three details and go ahead and write about it today. So let's try this again. Let's go back and let's take a look at this question one more time. How did the Ling family choose their pet? Let's pull up our article. And as we're reading it, we're going to take a look at it and highlight three ways that the Ling family chose their pet. So we're reading The Cutest Face in the World. The Ling family did not think they were going home with a pet today. Annie wanted to visit an animal shelter. She wanted to see the cats and dogs. She had wanted a pet for years. Her parents were waiting for the girls to be old enough. Annie was 7 and her sister Lily was only 3. Lily was still learning how to act around animals. She had a lot of energy. Annie and Lily were excited to see the animals. A shelter volunteer gave the Ling family a tour. The volunteer talked about why animals came to the shelter. Some were found on the road, others were dropped off by families who could not care for them. Finally, the Ling family got to see the animals. There was a cat section and a dog section. They were all so cute. Some of the animals looked scared. This made Annie sad. The volunteer explained that the animals need time to get used to a new place. She assured Annie that all the people caring for these animals were kind. The Ling family walked through the dog section. They started talking. A dog just felt like the right choice. Someone had to visit. Annie's mom could not take her eyes off the older black dog with kind eyes. Annie was interested in a large, energetic dog. Annie had found her own favorite. He was a young puppy. He was brown with spots, and he had been found near the railroad track with 6 other puppies. Annie could not take her eyes off this dog. She thought he had the cutest face in the world. Annie pleaded with her parents. They did not want to make quick decision. Pets are a big responsibility, but they could see in Annie's eyes that she had found her companion. The volunteer talked about what a good breed the dog was and how he would be kind with children. That was what the family needed to hear. They had made up their minds. This little one was coming home. Okay, so let's take a look back at our question one more time. How did the Lang family choose their pet? Now, I want you to go back through this article on your own, and I want you to find 3 pieces of evidence. Just highlight them for now, um, and then you can go ahead and put them into your box and bullet plan. So right now, on your own, you're going to go find 3 pieces of evidence that support that question. How did the Ling family choose their pet? So what are 3 ways they chose their pet? Go ahead and do that on your own right now. Okay, let's go back and let's take a look at some of the different things that the Ling family did to find their pet. So I personally think one of the most important things that they did was they visited a shelter. So a shelter is somewhere where dogs and cats or other animals go. It says they're dropped off by families who could not care for them or they were found. But this is pretty important up here, I think. They want to see cats and dogs. She had wanted a pet for years. Her parents were waiting to see how old they were. Da, 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 da. So they visit a shelter. So let's go back and let's take a look at how do I get where's my highlighting tool? Well, that's not it, and that's not it. That's oh, did Mr. Gilbert really click out of it? He did. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So now we have it. So the Ling family wants a pet. Annie, they visit the shelter. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to highlight this for you. Let's do it in red. They visit an animal shelter. So this is my first piece of evidence. Now, hopefully you have your three. I'm going to walk you through my three pieces of evidence right now. They might be a little bit different than yours, but let's go ahead and let's take a look. So the first thing I'm going to write about is the animal shelter. Uh, the question was, how do they choose their pet? The shelter volunteer gave them a tour. I think this is another nice piece of evidence. Excuse me. Right here. And then I think there is a final third piece of evidence. Let's see if I can. Mr. Gilbert's just getting used to using the computer like this, and it's down here. I just can't figure out how to scroll down to it now. Oh. Okay. My third piece of evidence is how they're going to go to the dog section and they're going to talk. So I'm going to say they talk, but they actually talk with a volunteer, and it's for some reason I can't figure out now that I have my little highlighter how to unhighlight here and scroll. But if you go down to that final section in the paper, it talks about how once they walk through the dog section, everyone loves the dog. We see here that Annie's mom could not take her eyes off the older dog. Annie was interested in a large, energetic dog. And then the volunteer reassures them that this is the pet for them, that a dog like this is going to be the best pet for the Ling family. So my third piece of evidence is going to be all about actually choosing the dog. And I really liked that sentence down there about how the volunteer allowed them or gave them advice and then reassured them that this is the perfect pet. Unfortunately, for some reason, I can't scroll down now. The mouse is it's not working. I don't know. So let's go ahead. Let's start writing about it. So I'm going to go put these in my box and bullet plan. I want you to do the same right now. My three pieces of evidence in my box and bullet plan, and you're going to do the same while I do mine. Okay, so let's take a look at my box and bullet plan. Once again, I'm answering the question, how did the Ling family choose their pet? I already wrote my topic sentence, and I think you saw it, so I rewrote it. The Ling family did many things to choose a pet. They did. Let's go ahead and let's talk about those things that they chose. First one, they went to the shelter. So I just wrote shelter for my box and bullet plan. Second, they took a tour. They take a tour of the dogs, the cats, and they're trying to figure out what's the best thing. And this is also where they're learning about why animals are at the shelter. So this is an important piece of evidence we want to put in our writing. Finally, they get to the dog section. This is where, if we pull back the article, um, they start talking to each other. Annie's mom can't take her eyes off the dog. Annie was interested. Dad, I believe, finds a dog as well in here. Annie's pleading with her parents or talking with a volunteer. This is a lot of stuff going on. Make sure you're like marking up your text in here too. Like we have 3 sentences that we could already include. There's tons of sentences down below here. So let's go ahead and let's start getting into our writing. So I'm going to do this in just a second. I want you to make sure that you're writing your topic sentence down. As you do it, make sure you indent. Indenting means look where my cursor is right now. So this imaginary line right here, See where I have my cursor? This is where the paper ends. So we're going to make sure we're indenting. So I'm going to start right there, and then everything else is going to come out to the end of the paper. So write your topic sentence down. I'm going to do mine now. So I wrote the Ling family did many things to choose a pet. You could write many different topic sentences here. You could say something like the Ling family did many different things to choose a pet. The Ling family fill in the blank. Just make sure that you're not including evidence in that topic sentence. Now, let's go ahead and let's write our first detail down. So I want you to go ahead and write detail sentence number 1 down. So I have my first detail sentence down right now. It says, first, the Ling family decided to visit a shelter. Using our box and bullet plan, the first thing we did was shelter. So I want to talk about that shelter now. So I wrote my detail sentence. I want to constantly be thinking about how I'm going to tie it back to that topic sentence. About how they chose their pet. So I already said the first thing they did. Now I'm going to kind of explain that detail to provide a little bit more evidence and elaborate on that. So we said first the Ling family decided to visit a shelter. Let's explain what a shelter is here. Shelter shelter had dogs and cats for the Ling family to dogs and cats for the Ling family to choose a pet. So we're kind of tying it back again to that topic sentence. What did they do? Well, they went to the shelter. And then why did they go to the shelter? Because the shelter has dogs and cats. Again, we're pulling that right out of the article. We didn't say anything about finding sharks or iguanas or anything. It specifically says right here they wanted to see dogs and cats. So make sure that you're using that evidence. Don't put any of your own stuff in here. This is strictly text based. Okay, let's go back to our article, or sorry, our argument here, and let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 is tour. So what do we mean by tour? You know what, let's, if we hop back here, the piece of evidence number 2, Annie and Lily were excited to see the animals. A shelter volunteer gave the Ling family a tour. A volunteer talked about the animals that came to the shelter, and it explains all about the shelter here. They take a tour of the shelter, so this is an important piece of evidence. So let's go and let's write this in here. I'm changing colors again so that you can see each piece of evidence and so that you can go back and add when we're done to each detail. So go ahead and write your detailed sentence number 2 right now. I'll give you a second and then I'll write mine. Okay, so my first or second detail sentence here, my first sentence in this set of details said the Ling family took a tour of the shelter. Here's where I'm going to go back now. I'm going to tie that second sentence back to the Ling family did many things to choose their pet. And I'm going to talk about the volunteer. So I'm going to say a volunteer talked about the shelter, the family, helped them try to choose a pet. So you can write any detailed sentence you want here. Yours is probably going to be different, a little different than mine. And then I want you to go back and tie that second sentence to the topic sentence. And this is also a good spot in your writing to kind of explain what you mean by that first detailed sentence. So provide a little bit more evidence. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go down to this third one. This is definitely a real big part of your writing here because it's where they actually choose the pet. So I want you to go ahead and write your third detail sentence down right now. Go ahead and do that. Voss. Drink Voss water. Little commercial. It's all the grocery store had. Okay, so if you don't have your third detail sentence, pause it, finish it, and when you're done, unpause it. Let's go and let's start writing our third detail together right now. So we're talking about the dog. They get to the dog section. They talk with the volunteer. This is the dog for the Ling family. So let's go ahead and let's write that down. I'm going to remind myself exactly what it said. I'm going to go back and look at the text. They walk through the dog section. That's right. Mom's interested. Dad and Annie found the energetic dog. And then, of course, the section down here, the last paragraph, where the volunteer is talking about how this is a good dog for kids. So let's write in let's change our color here so you can follow along. I'm going to say the Ling family loved the dog section of the shelf. Because they did, right? This isn't anything that we're making up here. Annie's mom could not take her eyes off the black dog with kind eyes. Annie's dad was interested in a large energetic dog. Annie had found her favorite. He was a young puppy, so they all love dogs. Let's go and let's put that in here. The Ling family loved the dog section of the shelter. Super important. And now we're going to add that second detail sentence. So go ahead and write your second detail sentence under that third piece of evidence. Okay, so I went ahead and I wrote my final piece of evidence and then three sentences. So let me read you what I have. I have the Ling family loved the dog section of the shelter. We talked about that already. Then I went and wrote my second detail here. It says the Ling family talked to each other and with the volunteer at the shelter. So they're talking with the volunteer, just like we said in our box and bullet plan. And I wanted to stretch this out just a little bit more. So I said the volunteer told the family that the dog was good with children, which is exactly what happens in the argument. So now we can go ahead, we can add our topic sentence, or sorry, our topic sentence. Ugh. Our concluding sentence in here, kind of start wrapping up our piece. So the Ling family So if you're not already, make sure that you're writing your concluding sentence. I wrote mine, and mine says the Ling family visited a shelter and did many things to find the right pet for them. So again, I want to change it up because I have a pretty standard topic sentence. The Ling family did many things to choose a pet. Let's make it a little interesting down here. Let's add a little bit of detail because in your concluding sentence, that's where you can add the actual reasons that you put in here. You could say, for example, the Ling family visited a shelter, they took a tour, and they talked with a volunteer in order to choose the right pet for them. So that's where you can kind of wrap up all of your writing as well. All right, here's the part that I want you to do. Now that you have this is a good opportunity to go back here after each color, after the red, after the green, and after the blue, after each detail. Go ahead and add some more writing in. Let's just take a look at how many sentences we have so far. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 sentences. You could easily make this into a 12 to 15 sentence argument. You could easily do that. I challenge you right now to go back and add some details into this piece of writing. Add a little bit more evidence. Okay. All right, boys and girls. Well, it was great seeing you. Hopefully, you liked this new way of me talking. You can see my face. Hey! And you can see the actual writing here as we write it. If you like it, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up. Um, Email me, text me, call me today. I love to hear from you guys. Shout out to Jameer. I know Mr. Scott gave you a shout out on ELA, but I know that you were totally rocking it, 14 out of 15 on that last ELA when we talked. Mila, shout out to you for learning how to use email. That's awesome. I'm really excited to learn what you guys are doing over this time that we're not together. Hopefully, you're able to do some new things. We spent the afternoon yesterday in the backyard and then watched Onward last night as a family. So it was nice seeing the family and hanging out with everyone in our house. Hopefully, you guys are doing the same. Shout out to Dro and Kair. I know you guys are totally rocking it with online math. I'm seeing your work in Freckle. Couldn't think of it. Freckle. So keep up the good work. I'll talk to you everyone later. Bye, guys.